Chicago lit up the skyline that night like it was trying to keep secrets in the dark. But nothing stays hidden forever. Not in the city, not in marriage, and especially not on social media. Emily was at a corporate party. Some regional mixer for her company's Midwest division. She had flown out the day before, dressed sharper than usual, suitcase packed with twice the usual effort. I had joked when I dropped her off at the airport. "You're packing like you're running away from me." She laughed. But I noticed she didn't say, "Of course not." I didn't think much of it at the time. I trusted her, or maybe I trusted the version of her I married, the one who still used my chest as a pillow after long days and laughed at my awful puns. Lately, though, she'd been different, more distant, more performative. Like every little thing was for an audience I wasn't invited to see. That night, I stayed home. I didn't even make it to bed, honestly. I was on the couch half watching some documentary with the volume turned low, drifting in and out of sleep. Sometime around midnight, my phone buzzed. Notification from Instagram. I remember thinking it was probably some sports update or a late-night meme from my buddy Aaron. But when I unlocked my phone, my chest tightened. It was Emily. She had posted a photo. She was sitting at a table. Candles, cocktails, ambient light, and right next to her was Rich, her ex from college. The same guy she swore was ancient history, and barely even a memory. The same guy she blocked on Facebook years ago when we were still in that overprotective, honeymoon phase kind of love. They were sitting very close. Her hand was resting on his knee like it belonged there, like it had found its way there without hesitation. And her smile? It wasn't the smile she gave me. It was the kind of smile people wear when they know they're being watched, and they like it. But it wasn't just the photo. It was the caption. Jealous? That's your problem, winking face, hashtag Windy City Nights. The second I read that, something in me just broke open. It wasn't vague. It wasn't subtle. That was for me, for everyone. It was a challenge, a performance, a digital slap to the face dressed up as flirtation. Within minutes, the comments rolled in. "Oh, old flames, smirking face, fire. You and Rich. No way, lol. Mark's gonna freak face with tears of joy. Looking like trouble, am I's? Some people just have a vibe, nail polish. The worst one. Still the hottest couple in the room. Just saying." And she liked that comment. Liked it. I stared at my screen for a long time, just frozen. It wasn't just the post itself, it was the ripple effect. The reactions. The laughter. The lack of hesitation. And all I could think was, she knew exactly what she was doing. I didn't call her. Couldn't. I was somewhere between furious and numb. I kept staring at the picture, at that hand on his knee, that look on her face, trying to convince myself there was some context I didn't know. Some joke, some office dare, maybe even a poorly thought-out prank. Anything but what it looked like. But deep down, I knew. I barely slept that night. When the sun came up, I was still sitting in the living room, jaw tight, the glow of my phone lighting up the space where Emily used to curl up next to me on weekend mornings. She used to say I was her safe place. Now she was tagging her ex in party posts and mocking my reaction before I even had one. When she called around 8:30 a.m., her voice all chipper like nothing happened, I answered. I didn't want to, but I needed to hear her voice. Needed to know if I was crazy. "Hey babe," she said, like nothing was wrong. "Sorry I didn't text last night. Lost track of time. The party was actually kind of fun." "Oh," I replied flatly. "Yeah, looked like it." There was a pause. I could hear the gears turning in her head. "Oh my God," she laughed. "You saw the picture, didn't you?" "Yes," I said. "I did." Another pause. Then the tone shift, casual, dismissive. "Mark, seriously? You're not actually upset about that, are you?" "Should I not be?" "It was a joke," she insisted, with that defensive edge creeping in. "Rich just happened to be there. We were all talking, someone snapped a pic. It's not that deep." "And the caption?" She huffed. "It was sarcastic. You really need to learn how to take a joke." "I'm not laughing." "Well, maybe that's the problem, Mark. You're always so serious. It's like, I can't even breathe without you reading into everything." That's when it hit me. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't even trying to understand why it might have hurt. She was turning it around, again, making me out to be the sensitive one, the clingy husband who can't handle a little fun. I didn't even argue. What was the point? The more I stayed silent, the more she filled the space with defensive excuses. "You're being paranoid," she added. "You know I love you. I'm just allowed to have friends, Mark. I'm allowed to live." That was the end of the call. I stared at the ceiling for a long time after hanging up, trying to convince myself this wasn't a big deal, that I was overthinking things, that I was making a mountain out of a blurry Instagram photo and a sarcastic caption. But it wasn't just the picture. It was everything about it. Emily never posted anything about us. Not in months. She used to tag me in weekend brunch pics, late-night movie dates, silly selfies in bed. That all stopped sometime last winter. No fights, no big moment, just silence. A quiet erasure of me from her digital life. And now this? Now she posts him and dares me to feel something about it? I couldn't unsee it. Couldn't unfeel the burn in my chest. It wasn't just jealousy. It was betrayal, public betrayal. And the worst part? She made me out to be the insecure one for caring. But I know what I saw. I know what it meant. That picture didn't mark the beginning of something. It marked the end of something else. The morning after the photo, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee gone cold and 1,000 questions looping through my head. I hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. Emily's post had lit a fuse in me. One that didn't explode right away, but instead sizzled slowly through every moment I thought we were fine. First, I still tried to shake it off. Tried to believe her. She said it was a joke. Said I was overreacting. But the truth is, something about the picture had snapped me out of whatever trance I'd been living in. And once I was out, I couldn't go back. I started thinking, really thinking about the last few months. The things I had brushed off, the little inconsistencies I had chalked up to work stress or marriage growing pains. Now they started stacking in my head like bricks, one after another, until they formed a pattern I couldn't ignore. It began with her schedule. Emily used to come home by 6:30 latest. She worked in corporate marketing, demanding, sure, but not erratic. Then suddenly, she was staying late for team meetings, last-minute pitches, or client dinners. Always vague. Never the same excuse twice. The timing was strange too. Sometimes she'd leave in the morning in flats, only to come back in heels she didn't leave in. Or her makeup would be redone when she got home, like she'd touched it up somewhere between work and here. One night, I noticed a faint scent of perfume on her neck when she leaned in to grab something off the counter. It wasn't the brand I'd bought her for our anniversary. Hers was citrusy, light. This was richer, musky, seductive. Like something you'd wear for someone new. Someone you're still trying to impress. That night, I asked about it. Casually. New perfume. She blinked like she didn't understand the question. Then smiled too quickly. Oh, must have rubbed off from someone at the office. You know how those marketing girls are. I nodded. But inside, a quiet alarm went off. Another time, I noticed her phone buzz late. Midnight, maybe later. She was in the bathroom. The screen lit up. Just a preview of a message. No name. Can't wait till this weekend, smirking face. When she came back, I asked who it was. She said it was from her friend Tara. She sends memes at all hours. Tara. The one who lives in Arizona and works night shifts? Sure. But again, I didn't press. I didn't want to be that guy. The paranoid husband. The controlling one. The one who drives his wife away by being too suspicious. So I let it go. But the signs didn't. She changed her phone password a few weeks after that. No warning, no explanation. Just a quiet shift. I noticed because I'd been using her phone occasionally to order takeout or check our shared calendar. One day it just didn't open. I asked her about it. She smiled like it was nothing. Work made us update all our phone security. New policy. That didn't sound right. My company hadn't done that. But again I nodded. Said nothing. Then there were the cash withdrawals. We usually used cards for everything, groceries, gas, you name it. We're digital people. We track our spending. Or at least we used to. But one night, While checking the bank account for a pending utility bill, I noticed 2 ATM withdrawals. $200 each, a few days apart. I asked her about them. She shrugged. Parking garages. Some of them don't take cards. Okay, maybe. But I checked the addresses. One was near her office. The other, 40 minutes west. Near nothing she'd ever mentioned. And parking garages? Who pays $200 for parking twice a week? Then came the lingerie. I was folding laundry when I found them. 2 pieces of lace I'd never seen before, crumpled between jeans and workout tops. Not just new, different. Not like the ones we'd bought together. Not like the kind she wore around me. They were bold, flashy, not her usual style. I set them aside, thinking maybe they were part of a surprise. Maybe she was planning something, a rekindling, a weekend getaway, something for us. But she never brought them up, never wore them, never hinted. They just disappeared the next day. And the car seat, that one messed with my head more than I'd like to admit. Emily is 5 feet 5 inches. I'm 6 feet 1 inch. We keep our car seats adjusted to our heights, obviously. She hates when I move hers too far back. Always groans about it the next day. You and your giraffe legs. It's a running joke. One morning, I borrowed her car to get groceries. She had taken mine the night before because she said she was low on gas. But when I sat down, the seat was pushed way back. Too far for her. In fact, it was exactly where I set mine. I remember staring at the dashboard for a long time. Who had been in the driver's seat? I asked her about it later, offhand, like it wasn't even important. Hey, you moved the seat yesterday? She blinked. Yeah, I guess. It felt cramped. That was it. No joke. No playful jab. Just a sentence, rushed and stiff. A non-answer. That's when I realized something. These weren't accidents. They weren't coincidences. They were a pattern. A pattern she hoped I was too tired or too trusting to put together. But the picture with Rich, that unlocked something in me. It was like a key turned in a door I didn't even realize had been locked. I couldn't unsee it, couldn't unthink it. I started watching her. Not in a creepy way, just more attentively. I watched how she avoided my eyes when I asked about her day. How her smile didn't quite reach the corners of her mouth anymore. How she flinched slightly when I reached for her phone, even just to check the time. And worst of all, how quiet our house had become. No music, no random laughter, no spontaneous back and forths. Just logistics. Did you pay the water bill? There's chicken in the fridge. I'll be late tomorrow, client thing. Everything had become transactional. And I kept pretending like I didn't notice, because pretending was easier than confronting a truth I couldn't prove. Yet, because I needed proof. I owed myself that. If this was what it looked like, if she really was pulling away, stepping outside, lying, then I couldn't keep guessing. I had to know. I had to see it. And part of me, ashamed as I am to admit this, needed her to make a mistake. A real one. Something undeniable. Because without it, I'd always doubt myself. Always question whether I was just paranoid or broken or too sensitive for my own good. So I waited. Quietly. Carefully. Not because I was passive, but because I was preparing. It was a Saturday morning when everything finally came together. Not in a way I hoped, but in the way I expected. By then, I had stopped looking for reassurance and started looking for evidence. I was done giving Emily the benefit of the doubt. I wanted the truth, even if it meant burning the last threads of trust between us. She was still asleep upstairs, curled up like nothing was wrong, while I sat at the kitchen table scrolling through our joint bank account. It wasn't even intentional. I had logged in to double-check a credit card payment when something caught my eye. A reservation at Pine Hills Lodge. 2 nights. King Suite. Full package. The charge had been processed 3 days ago. That didn't make sense. She told me she had a training that weekend. Something hosted by the regional office. A retreat, she called it. Lots of slideshows and awkward buffet lunches, she had said with a groan. But Pine Hills? That wasn't a conference center. It was a luxury lodge out in the countryside. Fireplaces, wine tastings, couples massage packages. It was romantic by design. I clicked on the transaction, hoping for a detail that might change everything. A corporate discount? A group rate? Anything. But it was just her name, her personal card. No company listed. No business affiliation. I just sat there for a while, staring at the screen, as a cold, slow certainty settled in my chest. The kind that doesn't hit all at once but seeps in like ink in water. She lied. Not once. Not impulsively. But deliberately. Repeatedly. And it wasn't just emotional distance anymore. It wasn't a drift or a rough patch. This was logistics. Planning. A secret life stitched together behind my back while I sat across from her at dinner, talking about stupid things like grocery lists and weekend plans. When she came downstairs later, dressed in leggings and that oversized hoodie she always wore on lazy days, I didn't say a word. I looked at her, waiting to feel something. Anger, heartbreak, maybe even the urge to scream. But all I felt was stillness. A terrible, deafening quiet inside me. She kissed my cheek like nothing had changed. "Going to the store," she said, grabbing her keys. "Want anything?" I said no. I watched her walk out the door, her ponytail swinging, earbuds in, and I realized she didn't look nervous. She didn't look guilty. She looked casual, like her biggest secret wasn't sitting in our bank history waiting to be exposed. The second the door closed, I went upstairs. I wasn't even trying to be sneaky anymore. I just wanted confirmation, something physical to match the digital truth I already knew. Her purse was on the dresser, normally zipped. Today it was half open. Inside, I found a crumpled receipt. Pine Hills Lodge Restaurant. 2 entrees. Bottle of wine. Dessert. Date. Friday night. The same night she told me she had been tired from networking and went to bed early at the hotel. My hands were shaking as I held it. That was it. The last missing piece. The proof. It was no longer a theory. No longer late-night speculation or maybe I'm being paranoid. It was real. It had a location, a timestamp, a credit card number. I put the receipt back exactly as I found it, zipped her purse and walked back downstairs. She returned 20 minutes later with coffee and bagels, smiling like nothing had changed. Maybe for her it hadn't. Maybe she thought she was smart enough, careful enough. Maybe she believed I wouldn't notice, or that if I did, I'd doubt myself long enough for her to shift the blame. But I wasn't doubting anymore. I wasn't waiting for more signs or hoping for reassurance. I had what I needed. She offered me a bagel. I said I wasn't hungry. She asked if I wanted to go see a movie that night, some new release I'd mentioned a week ago. I looked her right in the eyes and said, maybe, because now I was done reacting. It was my turn to start planning. After I found the receipt, I thought there'd be some kind of explosion, that I'd confront her in a storm of anger and accusations, that we'd scream, maybe cry, maybe finally say all the things we'd both been too afraid to admit. But when the moment came, I didn't do any of that. I didn't yell. I didn't even speak. I just shut down. It was like someone had flipped a switch inside me. The fire, the panic, the second-guessing, all of it burned out at once. What replaced it wasn't peace. It wasn't numbness either. It was something colder, heavier, a quiet sort of clarity that made everything I used to care about feel distant. From that point on, I decided not to confront her. Not yet, because I knew, deep in my gut, that if I wanted the truth to matter, it had to hit her when she least expected it. Not in an argument, not in a fit of rage, but in silence, precision, timing. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of watching me fall apart. I'd make sure she felt what it was like to be invisible in your own home. I started small. That morning, after she offered me coffee, I told her I'd make my own. No reason. Just habit, I said. But it wasn't. I stopped eating the dinners she cooked. Stopped complimenting her new outfits. When she came back from the gym or the store, I didn't ask how it went. I didn't smile. I didn't react. I didn't touch her. First, she didn't notice, or pretended not to, but I could feel the tension building. One night, we sat on the couch watching TV. She reached for my hand the way she used to, absent-minded, automatic. I didn't pull away. I didn't grip it either. I just let it rest there, limp, lifeless. After a few seconds, she let go. Didn't say anything. But I saw the way her lips pressed together. The faint flicker of confusion in her eyes. She knew something was off. She just didn't know how much. I began adjusting things behind the scenes. I stopped paying for her extras, those little luxuries she had grown used to. Her salon appointments? Cancelled. Her streaming subscriptions? Gone. Monthly clothing boxes? Paused indefinitely. She asked once, casually, "Hey, did the Barkley package come this month?" "No," I said. "Probably a shipping delay." I didn't lie. I just didn't offer the truth. Then came the financial shift. We had a joint account, but I quietly opened a personal one under my name. I started moving funds. Not all at once. Just enough to protect myself in case things got ugly. I reworked the budget, adjusted auto payments, removed her as a secondary on my credit card, canceled a few shared services and re-signed solo. None of this was flashy. None of it dramatic. It was quiet, clean, surgical. I wasn't just withdrawing affection. I was preparing for impact. By week 2, the silence in the house had a weight to it. Presence. It wasn't just emotional anymore, it was physical. You could feel it in the pauses between our conversations, in the space between our chairs at dinner, in the way we walked past each other like distant acquaintances. She noticed. Of course she did. "Are you okay?" she asked one evening while washing the dishes. "You've been kind of off lately." I didn't look up from my laptop. "Just busy with work," I said. That was all she got. I could see her watching me after that, studying me when she thought I wasn't looking, testing little interactions like a scientist observing results. She started asking more questions. "What time will you be home tomorrow? Do you want to go out this weekend? Have I done something?" Each one was a thread, tossed out like a lifeline. But I didn't grab it. I wasn't trying to hurt her, not yet. I was just letting her sit in the same uncertainty I'd lived in for months. Letting her feel the confusion, the quiet dread, the slow unraveling of a reality you thought was solid. And I kept going. She suggested we take a weekend trip. Just the two of us. Something spontaneous. "We haven't done that in forever," she said, smiling too brightly. I told her I had too much on my plate. "Work stuff. Maybe next month." She tried again. "We should go see your parents. They've been asking about us." "They're busy," I replied flatly. "Let's not impose." By the third failed attempt at connection, I saw it in her face, the beginning of panic. The realization that whatever wall had grown between us wasn't coming down. That maybe it wasn't a phase. Maybe it was permanent. She started trying harder after that. Cooking more elaborate meals. Wearing dresses around the house. Asking if I needed anything when she went out. Things she hadn't done in ages. But the effort felt off. Like a performance for an audience she could no longer read. And me? I stayed calm. Cold. Present but distant. Cordial but unavailable. She'd made me feel invisible. Now she got to feel it too. And slowly the cracks began to show. One night, I came home later than usual on purpose. She was sitting on the couch, TV off, just staring at her phone. When I walked in, she looked up, startled. "Hey," she said quickly. "I didn't hear you come in." I nodded. "Where were you?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "Out," I said, hanging up my coat. "Oh," she hesitated. "With who?" "Colleagues," I replied, walking past her. That was the first time she didn't respond right away. I could feel her eyes on me the whole way down the hall, like she wanted to ask more, but didn't know how. A few nights later, I caught her checking my phone. I had left it on the nightstand while brushing my teeth. When I came back into the room, she was holding it, pretending to check the time. But the screen was still lit, and the last app open wasn't the clock. It was messages. She smiled awkwardly, just making sure it wasn't an alarm. I didn't call her out. I didn't need to. She was unraveling, slowly, quietly, and I let her, because the longer she wondered what I knew, the deeper the doubt grew. And once doubt takes root in a liar, It eats away at them from the inside. The thing about silence is it's not just absence. It's pressure. It builds. It weighs. It makes people fill in the blanks with their own guilt, their own fear. And Emily? She was starting to buckle. It had been 3 weeks since I found the receipt from Pine Hills. 3 weeks since I said anything real. 3 weeks since I looked at her the same way. I watched her try to repair something she didn't know was broken until it was too late. The part that would have scared me a year ago, losing her affection, now felt like a distant memory, like something I used to care about before I realized I'd been played. I didn't want revenge in the way people imagine it. Yelling, throwing things, burning her clothes in the yard. That wasn't me. I wanted balance. I wanted symmetry. If she was going to flirt with her ex in front of the world, if she was going to share her body with someone else while pretending to be my wife, then fine. She could learn what it felt like to be on the other side of a narrative. So I made a plan. It started with the conference. Work was sending a few of us to an industry summit down in Atlanta. A 3-day networking event filled with panels, mixers, and evening dinners. The kind of thing where people wore suits by day and loosened ties over steak and wine by night. I didn't usually post about work. Emily always said it was too boring for social media. But this time I made an exception. On the second night, I asked one of my coworkers, Allison, to take a photo of me during our group dinner. Just a simple **T. The lighting was dim and warm, the kind that flatters everything. I was smiling, relaxed, present. Allison leaned in slightly as the camera snapped. Just enough to imply familiarity. Just enough for interpretation. The caption? I kept it simple. Freedom feels better than anything. That was all it took. I posted it and put my phone away. 20 minutes later, I checked. 3 missed texts from Emily. Emily, who's that with you? Emily, why would you write that? What's going on, Mark? Emily, call me. I didn't. I let it simmer. By the time I got back to the hotel room, she'd called twice. Sent more messages. Emily, you're acting weird lately and now this. Are you trying to tell me something? I wanted to laugh. Not because it was funny, but because the irony was unbearable. Months of suspicious behavior on her end, and now, a single photo with a vague caption had her spiraling. I waited until morning to respond. Just a simple, nothing to worry about, just a fun night with coworkers. The reversal was poetic. Suddenly, she was the one rereading messages, analyzing tone, wondering what I wasn't saying. I could feel it in every one of her texts that followed, shorter, more desperate, more uncertain. By the time I flew home, the energy had shifted. She picked me up at the airport, practically bouncing on her heels like someone greeting a boyfriend she thought she'd lost. Her hug was tight, too tight. I missed you, she said. I nodded. Yeah, good trip. She kept glancing at me in the car like she wanted to ask something but didn't know how. That night, she made dinner, lit candles, put on music. I played along, quiet, reserved. She brought up the photo. Who's the woman in the picture? She asked, as casually as she could manage. Allison, I said. From finance. She looks friendly. She's nice. She waited for me to say more, but I didn't. I let her fill the silence with her own imagination. The next few days, I watched her behavior shift completely. She was clingy in a way she hadn't been in years, touching my arm when she spoke, texting me midday with things like, thinking about you face-blowing a kiss. Messages that used to be normal, now reeked of panic. She even started showing up at my office to bring lunch or drop off coffee. Things she never did before, especially not without texting first. She'd lost her footing. I could see her trying to reset the script, to drag us back into the version of reality where she held control. But it was too late. I had seen behind the curtain, and I was no longer interested in playing the part of the naive husband. One night, I left my phone on the coffee table, screen lit up with a message from a female colleague. Innocent enough, but vague if you didn't know the context. I caught Emily glancing at it more than once. Later, she asked, "Are you talking to someone?" I shrugged. "I talk to lots of people." "Mark," she said, suddenly serious. I'm asking if there's something going on I should know about. I turned and looked at her. Really looked at her. She was nervous. Not because she was losing me, but because she might lose control of the lie. I didn't answer her question. Instead, I asked my own. Why do you care? Her eyes widened. What do you mean? I'm your wife. I nodded slowly. Right? You are. We sat in silence after that. The longest one yet. The next day, she started checking my phone more blatantly, trying to disguise it as, "Oh, I just saw your alarm going off," or "Your screen lit up. Someone texted you." I let her, because now she was chasing. She was afraid. And fear, I've learned, makes liars sloppy.